Alright, so let's walk you through how this works. So, comprehension questions, these are the questions that you're going to ask, just like Sam asked for his question over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 questions are going to be questions that you guys would write one by one. What is metabolism? And after writing that, you'd put that in this part over here, comprehension question. And try and ask convergent questions, questions that Sam asked over here. What? These are the questions you want to start by asking. Why questions are important, but they should come afterwards. So try to start with just what questions. Second thing is your realization. If you realize something, such as maybe while you're doing the questions, you realize, like Sam realized, that, oh, what this has to do with metabolism is there are 2 processes that make up the metabolism. Like maybe you write something you realized over here, and after realizing something, you might go on to the next question. Or what you might do is, if you have enough information, you might go on to the connection. So connection is how you are going to connect it to your current knowledge. And the way that you connect it to your current knowledge, and you do it by asking yourself, well, kind of like Sam does over here, he says, well, what really is this? So he comes up with the example, what is an anabolic process? Well, I know muscles are built up, so he connects it to the idea of building something up. And then he starts drawing this part of the diagram over here, and he figures out catabolic is breaking things down. So he goes ahead and he gives an example of breaking things up and building it up and breaking it down. So he does digestion for breaking down and muscle building for building it up. So what you can do strategy-wise is you can either, like Sam does, visualize the information, like drawing a diagram the way that he does it, and he comes up with his own examples. Or the second method is you could decide to sequence it, and sequencing it is something that Sam does in his next video over here, where he organizes his questions over here. So what he does is he goes through his notes, and in going through his notes, what he's doing is he's trying to figure out what are the names. So he asks us questions, and then what is the category of all these questions? So he's breaking it down, and then he goes back through and he says, okay, well, once I've asked these questions, what is the title of these questions? So he organizes these questions under general anatomy. And then the next category after all the questions is he says, oh, these are all about the pulmonary so he's categorizing these questions by organizing it in a certain order. And this makes sense in terms of the way that we learn, because when you sequence information, it's kind of like how a teacher can learn your name when you're in your seat, but once you leave that seat, it's not necessarily easier to remember. Or basically how we went over the calculus example, where calculus is part of math, derivatives are part of calculus, which is part of math, which means you now know that derivatives are part of math. So if you sequence it in an order and you draw that order, it's going to help you remember it. So off to the right in this section over here, you guys are going to want to draw your information by visualizing it, or you can sequence it by writing out your sequence to help you connect your questions to what you already know. So that's how this was going to work, guys.